Ooby-Doo is everyone's favorite boomer and vintage lens enthusiast. Today we're going to look at SMC PENTAX Zoom 1:4, 45 to 125. Ashaya Optical Company, Japan. I heard about this lens. I read it on some reviews, and of course reading a review isn't the same as actually having a lens and seeing for yourself if it works. But I heard good things about it. Although it's a weird focal ratio. It goes from 45 millimeters to 125 millimeters. That's slightly less than 3, and it's an f4, and it's a little hefty, without a doubt. It goes from 4, 5.6, or there's a half f-stop 8, half f-stop 11, half 16, and 22. It's on the PENTAX KR. Or does it say KR? Oh, there it says KR right there. So what's PENTAX's claim to fame in their DSLRs? They all have built-in shake reduction in the body. Excuse me. They have autofocus confirmation with all their lenses. How about that? It's very spotty. I know some lenses are impossible to get autofocus confirmation or when it's accurate, and some are dead on. This one was dead on. Whether it's 45 millimeters or 125 millimeters, I got excellent results. You get a beep, you see the red dot, which is the autofocus point it picked, and you get the green hexagon, which is a autofocus, manual focus confirmation. And well, that's great. Some lenses do that and some don't, and this is one of them that do. And it was dirt cheap. It was in like excellent plus condition, and it was like 125 bucks or something crazy like that. So I bought it, and it sat around for a while because I was into my 24 millimeter period, but I finally got around, and when I did, I drove around town early this morning, and I took a couple standard pictures, which we'll see in the slideshow. And it's a short slideshow. I'm going to have some more commentary about the quality. Now, this is only a 12 megapixel camera. It does have a lot of adjustments, and it may be confusing if you're not initiated. But I just poked around and I found the parameters that I like, and I keep it that way. So there's the normal things like white balance, things of that nature. So those you always change. And of course, this is a manual mode. It's not an auto lens. You could do wide open metering, which is good, or wide open focusing. What it is, you put this lens on, you put in an M, you pick a shutter. Well, first you give it an aperture, right? Give it an aperture like it's a f8. You give it an aperture, ISO. You focus. You press this green button, and then the aperture stops down. The lens picks a shutter speed. If you're happy, you go with it. And you know what? That's really accurate. I find that that's really nice. So these older PENTAX DSLRs have that going for them if you're into vintage lenses. This is a vintage lens, doesn't need an adapter. You slap it right on its native mount, and you're good to go. It will take M42, and you got to buy the PENTAX adapter, but it's very pricey compared to cheapos. So you got to watch out for that. So this is a nice camera. It has really good color. I like the way it renders images, and with this lens, it's a killer combination. Now, I only went around town. I drove around for like less than half an hour, took some pictures. It was like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I shot a couple pictures of my backyard, and then I just made this slideshow. Most of them, it was in the morning. I shot at f4 because you always want to see how a lens is wide open, and it's extremely adequate, extremely adequate. Stopped down at f5.6, f8. It's really good. And I also did a couple of flash pictures so I could stop down to f11 and see what that's all about. What is the disadvantage of this lens? The closest focusing is only 5 feet or 1.5 meters. That's really not too good. But I do get infinity focus, and there is no depth of field scale. but you do have your focal lengths, which is 45, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100, and 125. Of course, mostly I'll shoot at 125 or 45, but then if I can't move closer or further away, then, I just do this. I really don't notice. It doesn't send any information into the camera at all. So the XF is blank. All you're going to get is your ISO and your shutter speed, and whether the flash went off or exposure bias or something like that. I can highly recommend this lens, and as usual, if you want to get one vintage lens, you can't go wrong with this. You shop around, get an excellent copy. It's only going to cost you $125, and it's a totally usable focal ratio, a zoom ratio. 45 to 125, yeah, that's really nice. Well, except for the close focusing distance and the fact that it's old school metal and it's a little massive. But notice that it's a push-pull, and the length of the barrel doesn't change. It does have some zoom creep, so if you're going like this, you can see it's starting to move already. So if you have it there, you walk around, it's going to end up there. But it's really well damped, and you could put it someplace and then focus. And like I said, on the Pentax, you could get a focus confirmation, manual focus confirmation. But of course, if you throw it on a mirrorless camera and you go to live view magnify, you could do probably even better. So, and that's my next step, is to put this on one of my many mirrorless cameras, and it looks like a really, really, really nice lens. So let's just jump right into this slideshow and check it out, shall we? This is the famous eagle tattoo neon sign, super old school. I was across the street. I had to be over 50 feet away. It was a 2.5 lane road, and this is set back from the curb. And I think it came out really good. And here's a 1:1 crop. I think this came out really good. I'm really shocked. This is 125 millimeters at f4. It's 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. The sun was low, although the sky was bright. This is with the 45 millimeter to give you a context of where I was. And then, if you notice, this 1:1 crop looks like the original 125 shot. That's amazing, don't you think so? And it looks really good. Both 200 millimeters and 125 millimeters and 45 millimeters are really usable at f4 wide open. I was able, now this is 45 millimeters, but I drove across the street, and I instead of being 50 or 60 feet away, maybe it was 10 or 15 feet away. So this gives you how does it perform far away and how does it perform closer up. I think it does really good. For the money, I think I got a bargain. I'll probably be using this lens off and on for whatever photo expeditions I go on. Now this store, this Apex Vintage, was right next door, and I didn't nail the focus exactly. I thought I did, but something got spoofed, and you're not going to see a B of this because it's definitely blurry. But I'll have to go back and take a picture of this sign again. This is across the street. Across the street, there's these lake, which is behind the reeds, and then there's these tall hills. And it was through a windshield, so there's going to be no B of this because my windshield was a little dirty. But, Oh, this is the famous West Milford Florist gift shop flower sign. The original one got ran over by a truck, and they put up this new, spiffier one. About the same. I don't have a picture of it, but I think it used to be yellow instead of pink. And I don't remember about the hat either. So this is at 135. I've stopped on at 5.6. This is the B picture. I did auto adjust the colors on a lot of these, without a doubt. No sharpening, just auto adjust the colors. This is at 125, which is the same as the B picture from the 45 millimeter. Almost the same exact scale. And this is the 1:1 shot of that. So I like this lens. I think it does really good. I'm glad I bought it. You know, I originally wanted to get an M42 mount, but I kept looking and looking and looking, and I couldn't find it on the usual sites that I go to use gear. And then I saw it in a K mount. So I said, oh, look, it's excellent plus condition, and it's cheap, so I went and I got it. Cosmos used to be A&P a long time ago, when A&P went out of business, and some other company moved in and they didn't make it. And so Cosmos has their patriotic bunting up. And then look at that fine detail. That's a really excellent detail. I think it's a good lens. And you know, if you want one lens, a vintage lens that's to play with, this is a pretty good lens. And in modern cameras, you can always jack the ISO up for when it's like strange lighting, and you're good to go. So you could see the sun was very low, and all trees and houses would block the sun except where there were gaps. That's the sort of lighting I was under. And here's a B, one-to-one B picture of the lower right-hand corner. I think it held up really reasonably well. Really reasonably well. This is my front yard, and I got my roses blooming. Although the roofers, I came in, they had the roof done, and they smashed a lot of things up. I was pretty upset with them. And then I had to have some extra work done because there's some hitting problems, and it cost me extra money too, but they still smashed up my roses. So at F11 with a flash, I don't know if I hit the focus. I was trying to get as close as I could, and maybe it was just a teeny weeny bit too close. And that's the problem with a 5-foot minimum focus, you know. The depth of field is shallow even at F11, so if you try and push it and get a little bit closer, it's going to come out a little blurry. Look at the Bucas, sort of like busy looking there, don't you think so? I guess I only had 5 diaphragm blades, but there'll be a link to some tech specs down below. And this is at the closest focusing, but I made sure I moved back a little bit. So I had some play to do, you know, to get a manual focus confirmation. So what's infinity focus like? Let's see. Here's a jet plane early in the morning. Shot a picture of this. F11. Everything should be focused at infinity at F11, right? So this next picture, the B picture, I actually did I didn't do it 1920 by 1080 crop. I did a 960 by 540 crop, and I upscaled it to 1920 by 1080. So it's like magnified. It's not just a one-to-one crop, it's a magnified crop. So this plane was making this big giant arc and leaving this contrail. And then there are these weird clouds that had the arcs in it. So it's like 2 different arcs, and so I took this picture. And I'm very pleased with this lens, and I tend to use it more, and on mirrorless cameras. And so I know I'm a Canon guy, but I could respect Pentax because they made a lot of good lenses. And they seem to be around and in really good condition. So I highly recommend this lens without reservation.